Mara Jamison had exactly 3 things left from her dad: a smudged, oil-soaked notebook, the knack to troubleshoot any jet turbine ever fielded, and the echo of his voice saying, "Listen, kiddo, machines don't lie." She'd been unhoused 9 months when she slipped into Raymond Hartwell's private hangar. She only wanted a dry corner to sleep, while his team of high-salaried engineers circled his grounded Gulfstream in frustration. But the second she spotted the tampered fuel line they'd somehow missed, sabotage, elegant and lethal, her chest tightened. The billionaire's jet wasn't merely broken. Someone intended it to crash. Somebody wanted him dead, and the only person positioned to stop it was a 17-year-old girl who read engines like sheet music, a nobody to these polished men, ready to save them all with 5 small words. "If you allow it, I'll fix it." Quick check. Where are you tuning in from? If you're into stories like this, hit subscribe. Rain battered the hangar's corrugated roof like 1,000 clenched knuckles. Raymond Hartwell stepped from his black Bentley, Italian leather soles, biting wet concrete. His driver rushed the umbrella. Everything about Raymond broadcast wealth: custom charcoal suit, cuffs like knives, platinum watch cold as moonlight. His jaw was granite. His slate eyes burned with the corporate fury that bends boardrooms. "Where is it?" he snapped at his assistant, Marcus, hustling alongside with a tablet hugged to his chest. "Bay 3, Mr. Hartwell. Engineers arrived 2 hours ago." The Gulfstream G650 waited, glorious and mute, like a grounded albatross. His $70 million marvel had ferried him between continents, sealing deals that bent markets. Now its left engine cowling gaped open, turbine architecture exposed, a cathedral of alloy and aerodynamics. 6 engineers in spotless coveralls ringed it like surgeons around a hushed patient. "Report," Raymond ordered. Dr. Alan Mercer cleared his throat. "We've run every diagnostic. Turbine side shows mechanical anomaly, but the root cause is elusive." Raymond's voice went knife flat. "I pay you 300 grand to erase problems, not poetically call them elusive." Mercer blanched. "With respect, sir, this isn't standard. Compressor stages intact, combustion chamber clean, but rotation refuses to hold." "I don't need a sonnet, Mercer. I need the aircraft." He swept his gaze over degrees embroidered on chests: MIT, Stanford, Caltech, silk threads spelling reputations. "I see diplomas worth small nations' GDP circling my engine without answers." Around them, curious workers collected: cleaners, line techs, other pilots. Spectators to a rare Hartwell vulnerability. Whispered currents moved like wind through pasture. He missed the Tokyo merger over this. 50 million burned. He fired his last mechanic for wrong oil grade. Outside, the rain intensified, and with it came an unnoticed visitor. A slim figure slipped through a side door, hugging shadows, along stacked crates and a tool chest. Mara Jamison was 17, though hunger hollowed her cheeks to something younger. Dark skin chalked with cold, an oversized surplus jacket swallowing her frame, jeans cinched with safety pins, shoes tired and thin. Her hair, once carefully braided by loving hands, now matted in soaked tangles. She didn't mean to intrude. The warm air tugged her in like a magnet. She'd eaten half a dumpstered sandwich 3 days ago. With the gate guard distracted by the commotion, she slid inside, seeking shelter. Flattened behind a rolling tool cabinet, she tried making herself invisible, though her eyes kept drifting toward the exposed engine's elegant geometry. Even from 30 feet, she tasted the titanium choreography, the disciplined curve of compressor blades, the spiral promise of the turbine shaft. "Maybe we need the assembly replacement shipped from the manufacturer," one engineer ventured. 3 days. Raymond laughed without humor. "Do you have any idea what 3 days costs in my world? Sibor porn. Every hour I bleed opportunities, deals, leverage." "Sir?" Mercer tried again, consulting his tablet. The bearing housing shows unusual wear, but without specialized inspection. Raymond cut him off with a gesture toward the glowing diagnostic rigs and precision tools. $1 million in equipment and not enough? Mara leaned forward, breath quickening. The bearing housing angle bothered her, the way light sat wrong against machined surfaces, the subtle misseating relative to the compressor module. Her lips shaped old vocabulary. Blade tip clearance, bearing race alignment, thermal expansion coefficients. A stocky mechanic, Cole, noticed the silhouette first. "Hey, what's that kid doing here?" Heads turned. Mara froze. Fight or flight, screamed run, but rain was colder, and she was bone-tired. "Security," Cole called. "Trespasser." Another mechanic snorted. "Just a homeless kid, probably casing for scrap." Cole's smirk widened. "What's the little street rat gonna do? Rebuild a BR-725? Nervous laughter popped like knuckles. Raymond's gaze slid to Mara, sharp, dismissive. Most people crumpled under that stare. Mara had outlasted worse than furious wealth. "Get her out," he said, turning back to the engine. That's when she saw it fully. Micro-misalignment in the high-pressure turbine stack, maybe 2 millimeters off true. Exactly the failure profile they'd described. The diagnosis climbed out of her mouth uninvited. "Your N2 rotor isn't tracking true. The high-pressure shafts got lateral runout, likely thermally induced during your last hot section." The hangar stilled. Even the rain seemed to hold a breath. Raymond turned slowly. "What did you say?" Mara swallowed. Her voice steadied. "If you allow it, I will fix it." Laughter detonated, all nervous edges. Cole snorted. Mercer wiped tears behind his lenses. Even a couple of Hartwell's associates chuckled at the absurd tableau. "This is rich," one murmured. "$1 million team stumped. A street kid offers the cure." But Raymond didn't laugh. He studied Mara with the same tactician's intensity he turned on hostile takeovers, sensing not arrogance, but certainty. The same steel he'd carried when everyone swore he couldn't build an empire. "You know jet engines?" he asked. "I know this one," Mara replied, stepping forward despite every alarm in her blood. "Rolls-Royce BR-725, 16.9 thrust, 10-stage high-pressure compressor. Your issue isn't a busted component. It's alignment vectoring wrong under heat." Mercer scoffed. "Mr. Hartwell, surely we're not—" "How do you know any of this?" Raymond cut in. Mara's jaw tightened. "Does it matter if I can fix it?" "Everything matters," Raymond said evenly. "But you're the first in 6 hours to offer specifics instead of fog." "This is insane," Vanessa Hartwell announced, stepping in, diamonds and frost. She wore elegance, like armor, every line immaculate. "You can't seriously consider letting this child touch our aircraft." Their son, Pierce, immaculate in his prep blazer, eyed Mara like gum on a sole. "Dad, this is embarrassing. What will people say?" Raymond's expression hardened. "They'll say I get results, while others recite excuses." He faced Mara. "One chance. If you're wrong, you're out. If you're right—" "If I'm right," she said, surprising herself. "You let me finish." The gathered crew murmured. Raymond Hartwell didn't bargain with teenagers. "Sir," Mercer pressed, "this is a $70 million airframe. Insurance—" "Is my problem," Raymond said. "Stand aside." Tension pulled taut as safety wire. 50 pairs of eyes drilled into Mara, amused, hostile, bewildered. "Explain," Raymond said, folding his arms. "If you're so sure, lay it out." Mara inhaled, thinking in schematics. "Your hunting component failure. It's not that. During last service, someone torqued the high-pressure coupling to spec, but ignored heat variance. This BR-725 runs hotter than the old 7-10s. Over time, that heat nudged the shaft, offset by maybe 2 millimeters. At 10,000 RPM, it becomes a harmonic that trips the ECU. Mercer's mouth opened, then shut. Mara continued. "Your logs'll show intermittent EGT spikes over the last 50 flight hours, 20 degrees, short-lived. Pilots probably shrugged them off as sensor jitters." Raymond called his chief pilot. "Johnson, pull 50 hours of engine data. Look for EGT anomalies." A pause. His eyebrows ticked. "How many?" "Send to Mercer." The tablet pinged. Mercer's face went paper white as he scrolled. 17 spikes, exactly as described. Laughter curdled into silence. "Osh, who are you?" Vanessa demanded, blade sharp. "What's your angle?" For a heartbeat, Mara was 8 again, in a different hangar, watching her father's hands. "Mara," James Jamison had said warmly, "this is the bird's heart. Every piece must sing together." He'd place her small palm on alloy. "Close your eyes. Listen. Metal tells the truth." For 6 years he taught her. While other kids gamed, she memorized turbine maps. Spent Saturdays watching him resurrect dead engines with surgeon calm and musician soul. Then layoffs, insurance hell, mom's cancer, hospital debts, a graveside rain, and a promise whispered to the dirt. I'll remember everything. My angle, Mara said, returning. I'm cold hungry and I can fix your plane. That's it, Pierce sneered. She overheard us and parroted jargon. Then let her fail, Raymond said, cutting through. If she's lying, we'll know. Cole stepped forward, chest out. Union rules say only certified personnel can. Consultants are permitted at ownership discretion, Raymond replied. She's a consultant. Pay rate? He looked to Mara. $1 and dinner, she murmured. Against his will, a smile tugged at Raymond's mouth. From the VIP balcony, Gregory Ellison, silver-haired rival, descended, voice velvet. Raymond, I admire your creativity, but liability? If she damages the engine, insurance evaporates. I can have my team here in an hour. Raymond's gaze chilled. Convenient you're here. I heard, Gregory said innocently. Friends help. Mara clocked the predator's circle, the rival, the fidgeting mechanic, the eyes that never settled. Mr. Hartwell, she said, recentering him. I'll need specific tools, 12s and 14s, torque a wrench in inch-pounds, dental mirror, harmonic analyzer if you've got it. Mercer barked a laugh. A dental mirror? Kid, this isn't a cavity. No, Mara said evenly. But it lets me see the backside of the coupling without ripping the whole assembly. Unless you'd prefer another 6 hours of disassembly. Raymond nodded. Get her what she wants. Up close, the engine was more beautiful than rumor. Her father had worked older models. Principles didn't age. She skimmed the casing with her palm, reading warmth, vibration, breath, sensing what the million-dollar rigs couldn't. Warm here, she murmured near the bearing housing. Warmer than spec. Friction where none belongs. She climbed a stepladder, eyes level with the precision cathedral. Her hands moved with practiced economy, no wasted motion. Mirror, she said without turning. Cole handed it over, reluctant. She angled it in, penlight painting hidden radii. There, she breathed. Rear-bearing race scoring. Mercer peered, color draining. How did we miss that? You looked where computers told you, she said gently. Sometimes fingers trump readouts. Raymond drifted closer, drawn despite himself. It was mesmerizing, the way her scarred, capable hands negotiated metal, the reverence stitched into each turn. You learned from someone, he said. My father, Mara answered softly. Detroit's best, could diagnose by sound alone. He's gone. Mom, too, cancer took her first. Raymond absorbed it, an orphan wielding knowledge that humbled his expensive brain trust. Vanessa reappeared, heels sharp. Raymond, this is lunacy. What if she's a corporate plant? What if Gregory sent her? From the balcony, Ellison spread his hands. Did I send the rain too? He joked. If I sabotaged Hartwell, I'd be subtler. Mara narrated as she worked, transparency, but also a way to focus. The coupling loosens in a sequence. Get it wrong, you preload pressure, worsen misalignment. It's like tuning a piano. You don't crank one string and call it harmony. A younger engineer, Sienna, edged nearer. How do you even know the sequence? That's proprietary. Mara allowed herself a small smile. Rolls-Royce borrowed the logic from older Pratt & Whitney patterns, reversed every third bolt. If you know the history, you know the dance. 20 minutes slid past, words spreading through the airport. The homeless girl and the billionaire's jet. A fairy tale, except it smelled like kerosene and grit. Mara stepped back. Need to check something. She pulled a grease-stained notebook from her jacket. Diagrams, equations, her dad's neat block letters beside hers. Mercer leaned in and audibly gasped. These derivations. This is doctoral level. Dad never had a doctorate, Mara said. He understood engines, how poets understand cadence. She found the page. Harmonic frequency profiles for turbine shafts. 2 mm offset creates a standing wave at, quick math, 8,147 RPM. That's cruise. Raymond tugged Mercer aside. Is she right? Mercer nodded, humbled. 20 years in, and she's mapping harmonics like a thesis advisor. Then why is she sleeping rough? Raymond asked. Why don't you ask her? He didn't need to. He read it in her careful tool handling, in the way she guarded that notebook like crown jewels. A girl who'd lost everything except know-how and clung to it like a lifeline. All right, Mara said. Phase 1 complete. Couplings loosened. Now I need to realign the shaft. She hesitated. Hort. But, Raymond prompted, it's a two-person job. Someone needs to hold the alignment gauge while I float the mounts. It has to be someone who can feel the moment. Gauges tell you a number, hands tell you the truth. The engineers exchanged looks. No one wanted to play second to the girl proving them wrong. I'll do it, Raymond said. Silence rippled outward. Marcus whispered, Sir, Tokyo call. Can wait. Raymond shrugged off the jacket, rolled sleeves with a quiet eagerness that startled him. Tell me what to do. Mara assessed him, then nodded. Hold this against the housing. When I say press, press. Don't force. You'll feel it. They found rhythm. Her direct, spare instructions. His unusual willingness to follow. Feel that? She asked, as the shaft drifted into plane. Different. Smoothed, he said. That's the lock. Hold. As she snugged bolts, he asked, Where have you been staying? Around, she said. Not a place. Surviving. She tightened. Try the gauge. The resistance vanished. The gauge slid home like a key, accepting a lock. Perfect, Mara exhaled. Now we... A crack snapped the air. A precision tool fractured. She examined the shard. This was compromised. Stress lines from over-tightening. Cole shifted. Defective batch, he muttered. Mara caught the guilty glance he traded with Mercer. She filed it away. The streets taught her that smiling knives cut deepest. No matter, she said. I can work around. Pierce approached, nose wrinkled. You're humiliating us, Dad. Mom's group chat is flaming this circus. Then maybe your mother needs better friends, Raymond said, eyes on the work. I'm not proving a point. I'm fixing a plane. Maybe also remembering something I forgot, he added under his breath. Mara pretended not to hear, but warmth spread through her ribs anyway. For the first time in months, she felt seen. Not as a problem or a pest, but as someone valuable. The engine neared test-ready. Just a few meticulous touches remained. Then Mara noticed fresh scratches on a fuel line she hadn't touched. Someone had been at the engine while she fetched tools. Her gaze found Gregory texting, and Cole watching the clock. Her gut went cold. This wasn't only about fixing. Mr. Hartwell, she said low, we should speak privately. He nodded. The area cleared. She showed him the damage. If we spin it up now, it'll look like my repair sparked a leak. Raymond's face iced over. You're sure? My dad lost his job when someone framed him with mechanical error. I know deliberate damage. Can you fix it? Yes. But someone in this hangar wants your plane grounded, or worse. Raymond looked from Gregory to his own crew. That's an excellent question, Ms. Jamison. Fix it, and then we'll get answers. Mara returned to work. The rain's drumming felt like a countdown. Inside, another storm gathered. Politics, risk, and resentment circling. Respect had found a spark. Now it needed tending, not smothering. The 5-minute break stretched thin as wire, while Mara examined the cut fuel line. She mixed a temporary sealant from her father's kit, one more relic she'd kept through shelters and abandoned buildings. The hangar hushed. Clusters of whispers bloomed in corners as people chose sides in a drama they barely understood. Raymond stayed close, sleeves still rolled, watching with a focus that made others edgy. He'd built empires reading threat and talent. This girl was both. The fracture pattern's too clean, she said softly. Specialty cutter. Likely done while eyes were on me. How long on the street? He asked abruptly. 9 months, 2 weeks, 6 days. You keep count? When you're surviving, every day is a win or a loss. Before he could answer, the main doors thundered open. Vanessa returned with Detective Reuben Price from Youth Services. Mara's stomach tightened. There she is, Vanessa announced. The runaway trespassing at private facilities. Price approached, heavyset, eyes kind but procedural. Mara Jamison, you missed 3 check-ins with your caseworker. Raymond stepped between them. She's working. This can wait. I'm afraid it can't, Price said. She's a minor without guardian supervision. Then I'm supervising, Raymond replied. She's my employee. Vanessa laughed coldly. You can't just acquire children, Raymond. This isn't a leveraged buyout. While the adults sparred, Mara kept her hands moving. Group homes meant lockers pried open, notebooks stolen, The last sacred thing lost. Gregory oozed concern. This is liability, Detective. A child near dangerous equipment? Hartwell's premiums will implode. Since when do you care about my premiums? Raymond asked. Since you endangered a kid for ego, Gregory said. I'm safer here than anywhere I've been in months, Mara said plainly. That's not your call, Vanessa snapped. You're a child. I'm a child who understands this engine better than your entire roster, Mara replied, surprising herself with the steel in her voice. And right now I'm the only one who can make it safe. Pierce smirked from the corner. Maybe not the only one. Dad, Ellison Aerospace just announced their rapid response team is inbound, under an hour. Raymond's eyes narrowed. Convenient. Gregory? I prepare, Ellison said smoothly. Unlike those gambling reputations on street kids, Mercer cleared his throat. Mr. Hartwell, perhaps we should accept the offer. Liability. The liability, Mara cut in, is a subtle misaligned turbine shaft generating harmonics at cruise. Bigger liability? Someone doctored a fuel line to make my repair look like the trigger. Biggest? Mr. Ellison knows too much too fast. Tokyo merger, engine model, before anyone briefed him. The room caught its breath. Masks slipped. That's a serious accusation from someone without credentials, Gregory said. Observation, Mara corrected, flipping to a notebook page with hurried timestamps. You arrived 43 minutes after Mr. Hartwell, mentioned Tokyo before anyone here did, knew the engine model without looking. Your team mobilized before Raymond allowed me to try. Detective Price frowned. What exactly is going on here? Corporate sabotage, Raymond said, pieces meshing. Gregory, you knew my plane would be down today. Prove it, Ellison challenged. I don't have to, Raymond said. She will. Continue, Ms. Jamison. She's coming with me, Price insisted. Minor protection laws allow emergency waivers for specialized employment. A new voice cut in. An elderly black woman entered with a cane and relentless dignity. Mara, child, you've made me chase you halfway across the city. Mara's eyes widened. Mrs. Washington. Judge Washington, she corrected gently. Retired, but still able to sign emergency custody orders. She faced Raymond. I knew her father. James Jamison was the finest mechanic Detroit raised. Honest to the bone. Kept my husband's Cessna singing for 20 years, sometimes for free. She turned to Mara. I've been trying to find you since you bolted the group home. They wanted to ship me to agricultural school, Mara said. Said I needed a practical trade. The judge laughed. And jet engines aren't practical? She addressed Price. Detective, I'll stand responsible for Mara. Mr. Hartwell, if you'll provide employment and supervision, I can make this legal within the hour. Vanessa stepped forward. You cannot be serious. Raymond's voice cooled. I'm very serious. Mara glanced at the engine. We've got 30 minutes before Ellison's crew arrives and muddies everything. She reached for a wrench. It slid off the tray. Cole had loosened it earlier. Mara snatched it mid-fall, reflexes honed by hunger and stress. She looked at Cole. He couldn't hold her gaze. Guilt weighs hands, she said. My father used to say it. Makes tools slip. That's why yours shake, Cole. I don't know what you're talking about, he muttered. The torque wrench you handed me was off by 15%. Enough to fail, subtle enough to blame me. The mirror had a hairline crack primed to shatter. Small sabotages. Still sabotage. Mercer stepped back from Cole, face rearranging into dawning horror. You worked against us? Not against you, Cole muttered, just making sure things went a certain way. How much did Ellison pay? Raymond asked. Silence answered. Mara's movements sharpened, urgent but controlled. The worst damage isn't alignment. That's fixable. The real poison's a pressure relief valve swapped for a lower temp rating. At altitude, it fails catastrophically. Raymond went stone still. That's attempted murder. Yes, Mara said, meeting his eyes. This wasn't about grounding you. It was about ending you. Gregory's composure cracked. Outrageous. You demand nothing in my hangar. Raymond cut him off. Judge Washington, Detective Price, we'll be discussing crimes. Voices rose. Mara kept working. Her father's voice threaded the noise. When the world gets loud, precision matters. Let them shout. You fix what's broken. She extracted the counterfeit valve, penlight catching filed-off part numbers and cheap machining. Her fingers moved with decisive grace. Select, seat, torque, verify. Pierce drifted nearer, curiosity displacing scorn. How do you stay calm? You don't, Mara said. You choose the task in front of you. When you've lost everything, focus is the only solid ground. Pierce swallowed. I've never lost anything. Then you haven't learned how strong you are, she said without bite. She found the correct valve, buried behind deliberately misplaced inferior parts. Of course. She installed it, narrating torque sequences and seating feel. It's like a handshake, firm without crushing. My father never taught me any of this, Pierce admitted. He's teaching you now, Mara said, nodding at Raymond, who stood guard. An odd, protective sentinel. He's teaching you that merit outshines pedigree. She called for an initial test. The hangar hushed. Even Vanessa's disdain quieted. Cole's bravado shrank. Gregory's smile went thin as thread. Clear 30 feet, Mara ordered. People moved back, eyes big. She stood at the control panel, her father's notebook tucked close. Small figure, giant machine. But something about her stance made the space feel steadier. Initiating start sequence, she said. Fingers danced over switches. Fuel pressure nominal, electricals online, ignition in 3, 2, 1. The engine sang awake. First a whisper, then a hum, then a building roar, a tamed storm. Screens flickered green, temperatures, vibrations, pressures, numbers aligning like constellations. 30 seconds perfect. She powered it down. Cooling metal ticked like a metronome. Silence followed. Thick, awed. Raymond started to clap. One man, then Judge Washington, then Pierce, then even a couple of mechanics who'd sneered earlier. Applause swelled, washing over Mara. She didn't smile. That was only the first test, she called. Sustained under load is the real one. But there's a problem. Applause died. What problem? Raymond asked. Mara pointed near the fuel manifold. This wasn't here before. Somebody added a secondary line while we argued. It's designed to read as part of my repair, but it's not. At full power, it'll mist fuel. Looks like catastrophic failure. Gregory surged forward. Ridiculous. She's covering her tracks. Mr. Ellison, Detective Price warned. Step back. This is becoming a crime scene. Crime scene? Gregory laughed, brittle. For what? Attempted murder, Price said evenly. If this holds, we're talking federal. As if conjured, the hangar doors opened again. Not Ellison's team, federal investigators. Raymond had placed a quiet call moments earlier. Shot Mr. Ellison, the lead agent said, flashing a badge. We have questions. While Gregory fielded them, Mara removed the false line. Careful, deliberate, documenting each move. It's ready, she told Raymond. But whoever orchestrated this planned for the long game. This is bigger than one plane or one deal. Raymond's expression hardened. Understood. Can you make it flight safe? Safe, yes, she said. Flight ready requires full inspection and certs. But safe, I can give you true rotation. Do it, he said. Vanessa edged close. I'm leaving. This theater. You're grandstanding with a homeless girl. Necessary, Raymond said without looking. Recognizing talent is necessary. Protecting whistleblowers is necessary. Doing what's right, especially when uncomfortable, is necessary. Vanessa shook her head. You've changed. No, he said softly. I'm remembering. She left, heels ticking away like a clock. Pierce lingered. Mom's not coming back, is she? Probably not. Are you okay with that? Raymond considered. I'm okay being someone you respect. Pierce nodded, then surprised them both. Teach me, like she's teaching me. I want to understand what we built, not just inherit it. Raymond's arm settled across his son's shoulders. Unexpected, steady. Meanwhile, Mara prepped the longer test. The engine ran 5 minutes, 10, 15, reading steady, elegant. She began spooling down, then saw it. Smoke. Just a thin thread from a segment she hadn't touched. Everyone back, she shouted. Evacuation was swift and practiced. Mara grabbed an extinguisher, advancing carefully. The smoke came from a crude, timer-primed incendiary tucked behind a panel. They really wanted this bird destroyed, she said, disabling it with hands that didn't tremble. Backup plan. If harmonics didn't do it, the federal agent examined the device. That's conspiracy level. He turned to Raymond. We'll need protective custody for the aircraft. After, Raymond said, gaze steady. She finishes. Sir, I can't. You can. Judge Washington interjected. And you will. This child risked herself to prevent catastrophe. The agent sighed. Finish quickly, he said. Sunset slanted long gold fingers across the hangar floor. Mara's final repairs were meticulous. Every correction witnessed, photographed, logged. This wasn't only restoration now, it was chain of evidence. Agents cuffed Gregory Ellison. He smirked. You think you've won? I'm one piece in a larger game. Then we'll find the rest of the board, Raymond replied, voice like winter. Cole broke. Tears, shaking hands. He threatened my family, he sobbed. Said if I didn't help, my kids, I never meant. People could have died, Mara said, not unkindly. My father taught me, small compromises breed big tragedies. Dusk deepened. Her work concluded. The engine wasn't only fixed, it was better than it had been in years. She'd corrected drifts no one had noticed or had ignored. It's done, she said simply. Applause ebbed into logistics. Agents photographed the counterfeit valve, the cut line, the shattered tool. Judge Washington signed the emergency papers on a rolling cart. Detective Price witnessed. Marcus scanned them to legal. Raymond pressed a crisp dollar into Mara's palm. Dinner's coming, he promised, voice low. Vanessa lingered near the door, diamond face unreadable. You'll regret this, she told Raymond, soft and surgical. He didn't look up. Maybe, he said, but I'll be able to sleep. Pierce watched his mother leave, shoulders squared, like someone trying on a heavier name and finding it fits. Mercer approached Mara, chastened. I underestimated you, he said. Most people do, she answered, not unkind. You were trained by instruments. I was trained by need. Sienna, eyes bright, asked if Mara would teach her the reversed bolt pattern. Tomorrow, Mara said. Tonight we keep this bird honest. Federal techs cataloged every part Mara touched, photographing torque marks and serials. Gregory protested into a phone that suddenly stopped returning his calls. Cole, slumped on a stool, signed a statement through shaking fingers. I'm sorry, he told Mara. Be sorry by telling the whole truth, she replied. Judge Washington rested a hand on Mara's shoulder. You saved lives today. Mara shrugged, exhausted. I fixed a lie. Machines tell you when something's wrong. The trick is listening. The judge's eyes watered. Your father would roar with pride. Mara swallowed. He'd probably ask if I torqued crosswise. Raymond gathered the engineers. From now on, if a kid with a notebook out-diagnoses our stack of machines, you listen. Credentials are proxies. Competence is proof. Mercer flushed, but nodded. Sienna straightened like a flag in wind. Cole stared at his hands, as if they'd become strangers he barely trusted. Marcus returned with takeout bags, steaming like tiny chimneys. He offered Mara the first box. She hesitated only long enough to whisper, Thank you, then ate like someone reacquainting herself with gravity. Pierce hovered, curious. What's it taste like? Warm, she said. Warm tastes like everything you forgot. Detective Price coordinated with the feds, arranging safe transport for evidence and a protective detail for Cole's family. You did right coming clean, he told the mechanic. Cole nodded miserably. Doing right late is still better than never, Mara added, finishing her water. Just don't confuse confession with repair. Gregory's attorneys finally arrived, slick and late. The lead one announced, My client is cooperating fully. The agent replied, Terrific. He can cooperate from holding. Gregory's smile thinned to parchment. He glanced at Raymond. This isn't over. Raymond's answer was silk over steel. Neither is accountability. We're both committed men, Marcus whispered. Tokyo rescheduled for dawn. Raymond nodded. Tell them a 17-year-old saved their margins. He faced Mara. You're not going back to the street, she stiffened. I don't take charity. Good, he said. I'm offering employment, apprenticeship, scholarship later if you want it. Start with sleep and safety. Judge Washington smiled. I'll file the order tonight. She turned to Pierce. Young man, perhaps you'll volunteer to carry tools rather than opinions. He flushed, but nodded. Yes, ma'am. Mara hid a grin behind her carton. Sienna bumped her shoulder gently, conspiratorially, like teammates acknowledging the start of a season. Mercer asked, almost shy, "Would you consider consulting on our procedures audit?" Mara blinked. "I consider sleep." Laughter rippled, easing the room. "After sleep," Mercer amended. "After sleep," she agreed. Raymond murmured to Marcus. A security supervisor posted 2 guards by Mara's corner. For once, safety didn't feel hypothetical. They ran the final ground profile, numbers held steady like a note sung true. The agent signed off on immediate protective custody afterward. Raymond negotiated a brief delay to finish documentation. "You trust her that much?" the agent asked. "I trust the data," Raymond said, "and the person who heard it first." Pierce carried toolboxes to storage, shoulders straining, cheeks flushed, watching how Sienna labeled everything with practiced care. "Why label Torca wrenches by personality?" he asked. "Because some lie," she said, smiling. "The honest ones we mark in green." Mara laughed softly. "Machines don't lie, people do. Calibrate accordingly." Detective Price pulled Mara aside. "You have somewhere you'd prefer to stay tonight?" She glanced at the rain-dark tarmac. "Somewhere with a door that locks." "Done," he said. "Judge?" Washington nodded. "I'll ride with her." Raymond added, "Driver's ready." For once, everyone's plan aligned like properly torqued flanges. Marcus brought a clean hoodie with the company logo. Mara hesitated, then slipped it on, sleeves swallowing her hands. Heat pooled behind her eyes. She looked away until it steadied. "Uniform suits you," Sienna said. "Temporary loan," Mara answered. Inside, something unfamiliar unfolded, comfort without a price tag attached like a leash. Gregory, escorted past, paused. "Hartwell, you've made an enemy with very patient friends." Raymond didn't rise. "Patience goes both ways. I can wait for truth longer than you can hold your breath." Gregory smirked. "We'll see." "We will," Judge Washington said, cane planted like a verdict. The agents moved him along. A fuel truck driver poked his head in, cap dripping. "Heard the show's over. That bird flying tonight?" "Not tonight," Mara answered. "But it'll live to." He tipped his cap to her. "Then you did the right kind of miracle." She felt the words land and settle somewhere her ribs had been guarding. Raymond's phone buzzed. Tokyo's chair on video, midnight their time. He stepped to a quiet corner, camera angled toward engines, not faces. "Resolved," he said. "Sabotage thwarted. We'll brief fully tomorrow." The chair exhaled. "You're impossible." "Indispensable," Raymond corrected lightly, then added, "Credit the young consultant who saved us." Mara finished eating, tucked the carton and her father's notebook carefully into a backpack Marcus had found. She walked the engine one last time, fingertips hovering inches from skin, like blessing or farewell. "You good?" Pierce asked. "For tonight," she said. "Tomorrow, we start an audit sprawling like a map." Sienna pressed a card into Mara's hoodie pocket. "My number. If anyone hassles you, call. If you need notes, call. If you want coffee, definitely call." Mara blinked, disarmed. "Thanks." Sienna grinned. "Welcome to the weirdest internship application I've ever seen." "Application accepted," Raymond said, having overheard, amused. The rain finally softened, trading fists for fingertips. On the tarmac, blue lights winked like distant cities. Mara stood between machine and night, feeling both pull. Judge Washington joined her. "You're allowed to be proud." "I'm allowed to be tired," Mara said. "Proud can ride shotgun till morning." Detective Price briefed the detail leader, then turned back. "We'll keep eyes until indictments land." He handed Mara a business card. "If someone approaches you, call. No bravado." She tucked it beside Sienna's. "Bravado is expensive," she said. "I can't afford it." He smiled, satisfied. "That's wisdom money buys late." Raymond offered his hand. "You earned more than dinner." She shook it, grip steady. "I'll settle for dinner and tomorrow's wage." He laughed, surprised. "Practical." "Hungry," she corrected. "Practical comes after protein." Marcus, delighted, made a note. Somewhere, a coffee machine gurgled, promising a small, tangible future shaped like warmth. They loaded evidence crates. Agents sealed the cowling. The engine, gleaming under fluorescence, looked less like a victim and more like a survivor. Mara signed a consultant voucher, under Judge Washington's temporary guardianship. Marcus slipped her a prepaid phone. "Contacts preloaded," he said. "And alarms." "For what?" "Breakfast." Vanessa's driver idled at the far curb, unsure whether to wait. She texted a single line, "Not coming," then turned the screen face down beside her diamonds. Across the hangar, Pierce helped Sienna coil hoses in practiced loops. Raymond watched them, a small, startled piece settling like dust in clean light. Mara sat on a rolling stool, finally letting her shoulders drop. The hoodie's cotton held borrowed heat. She thumbed the phone's alarm, set it for dawn. "What time do auditors wake?" Pierce asked. "Earlier than sabotage," she said. He laughed, genuine. "Then I'll learn earlier." "Deal," she answered. Judge Washington checked the order's digital seal. "You're under my wing pending hearing," she said, which means bedtime is not theoretical. Mara saluted lazily. "Aye, Your Honor." "Don't push it," the judge replied, smiling. Detective Price escorted them to the sedan. Rain smelled cleaner, like the city had unclenched. At the door, Mara paused, looking back at the engine, at Raymond beside it, sleeves still rolled. He lifted 2 fingers in a brief salute. She returned it, a mechanic's benediction. Behind her, the judge cleared her throat. "Let's move, hero." "Working on being merely useful," Mara said, stepping out. The sedan's heater chased the chill from her bones. Streetlights blurred into gold threads. Judge Washington handed her a folded photo. James Jamison beside an old Pratt turbofan, grinning. "Found this cleaning last spring." Mara traced the edges. "I remember that day," she whispered. "He tuned by ear and dared it sing." Back in the hangar, Raymond signed 3 stacks of forms, then finally leaned against the gleaming cowling, eyes closing, listening. The engine, even asleep, had a tone, balanced, relieved. He exhaled. Marcus, watching, wondered when he'd last seen the man rest, without bargaining with himself. "Tomorrow," Raymond murmured. "We audit everything." Mara's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You were extraordinary." S. She smiled, typed back, "Team Sport." M. Another ping. "Coffee tomorrow?" she replied. "After sleep and evidence chain. Promise?" She grinned despite herself. "Promise." The city outside slid past, like tape unspooling, ready to be edited kinder. Detective Price's radio crackled. "Search warrant signed." He glanced at Mara in the mirror. "Wheels are turning." She nodded, forehead against cool glass. "Let them." The judge patted her knee. "Sleep, child." Mara closed her eyes, hearing rain, turbines, and her father's voice braided together. "Trust the music." In the hangar's hush, the engine ticked as metal settled, like a heartbeat easing after a sprint. Raymond opened his eyes, studied the dollar still missing from his wallet, and smiled. Worth every cent. He texted Marcus. "Find HR forms. New hire, Jamison, Mara. Title, apprentice consultant. Start, sunrise." Night held its breath, then released it slowly across wet tarmac and cooling steel. Somewhere, sirens yawned awake for other stories. Here, for once, the truth had outpaced the ruin. Mara slept against the window, safe as a secret kept well. Tomorrow would be work. Tonight, the machine was honest. Raymond approached her, voice low. "Name your price." "Already did," Mara said. "Not enough. You saved my life. And maybe my son's too." She met his gaze. "I don't want cash, Mr. Hartwell. I want a path." "Say it." "A real job, training, certification, the future my dad started." Raymond extended his hand. "Deal. But first, dinner, not a token meal. My table. You're our guest of honor." Pierce stepped in beside him. "Our guest of honor," he echoed. They shook on it. Billionaire, his son, and the unhoused girl who'd just saved them. Engine ticking, peril cooled. The turbine's soft clicks felt like gratitude. Metal settling after strain, danger turned harmless. Mara understood it wasn't finished. Gregory's warning still crawled under her skin. There were other hands on the machine, other games. The engine was honest, the larger apparatus, not so much. Judge Washington approached, cane tapping. "Your father would be bursting," she said. "He taught me to mend," Mara answered. "I think Mr. Hartwell's about to teach me something else." "What's that?" "How to push back when people break things on purpose." Raymond overheard and nodded. "Lesson plan starts now," he said. We learn it together. As they prepared to go, Mara glanced at the polished nacelle. Her warped reflection stared back, recognizable despite the distortion. She wasn't the same kid who'd slipped in to dodge the rain. Knowledge had become currency, voice, leverage. But shadows gathered behind her, other players, deeper circuitry humming. And Mr. Hartwell, she said suddenly, we need to audit your other aircraft. Explain. If they cut one vein, they likely nicked others. This might be systemic, not singular. Color drained from his face. He called security, ordering immediate, unannounced inspections across his fleet. While they waited, pride flickered through her fatigue. She'd done what James Jamison drilled into her. Fix what's broken and expose who breaks it. Outside, rain eased. First stars pricked the black. Mara tilted her head, whispering, "Thanks, Dad, for teaching me to listen." The engine sat ready, quiet, trustworthy, weightless with potential, like Mara herself, no longer grounded. Federal teams had barely rolled out with Gregory when a wrongness tickled Mara's ear. The engine she'd just normalized spoke a different note, so faint it felt imagined. She lifted a hand. "Freeze." The hangar obeyed. She approached like you approach a hurt animal. A thin fuel bead welled, fresh, deliberate. "Everyone back," she ordered, slamming the emergency cutoff. Ventilation thundered, clearing fumes. "Mr. Hartwell, I need the last 10 minutes of security footage. Someone is still here." Raymond's jaw set. Orders snapped down the chain. Mara laid the damaged line on clean cloth, penlight braced, reading cut geometry like script. "Not Cole," she said. "When he's scared, he's messy. This is surgical." Mercer bristled. "You're accusing one of us again? After all this?" "I'm stating angles," Mara replied, rolling the tube. 17 degrees, left-handed habit, surgical grade tool, precise entry to mimic heat stress failure. This is a practiced wrist. Anzabemai, Einzaiju. Preston, Pierce, filmed close-ups for evidence while security stammered. "Systems down. We have a 6 p.m. maintenance window, 15 minutes. Raymond's stare went arctic. "Who knows that window?" "Senior staff," the manager whispered, paling. "And?" "Our contractors." Marcus Torres, Hartwell's security chief, returned, laptop under arm. "Primary's dark. Backup caught." Something. Grainy footage filled the screen. A hooded figure moving with economy near the engine, face obscured. Mara watched the tool grip, the stance. "Not ground crew," she said. Wrist posture screams precision. Medical, electronics, not aviation generalists. Foster, Mercer, backed away. "I'm calling the union. We're not staying to be scapegoated." "No one leaves," Raymond said, voice quiet and immovable. "This is an active federal scene." Judge Washington's tone followed like a gavel. "He's within rights to hold the perimeter until agents return." As voices rose, Mara noticed Lily Chun's hands, fidgeting, a fresh slice across the left palm. But Lily worked right-handed. "Look at her," Mara whispered to Raymond. "That cut's not from dominant use. Someone forced her." He approached with unexpected gentleness. "Lily, if they threatened you, we'll shield you." The dam burst. Lily sobbed. "They took my daughter. Emma told me to nick the line exactly where they marked." The room reeled. Phones came alive. Raymond with the FBI, Torres with local PD. An amber alert ignited across the region. Mara crouched by Lily. "Where'd they mark?" With shaking fingers, Lily showed a photo texted to her. The engine with a precise grease pen slash. In the nacelle's reflection, a partial face, unintended signature. "Pierce, can you clean that?" He surprised everyone, enhancing the snapshot. The reflection clarified into a familiar profile. "Mitchell Graves," Raymond said, voice like dry ice. "Gregory's aide. He was here during the first inspection. He never left." A sound on the catwalk snapped heads upward. A figure bolted for the exit. "That's him!" Lily screamed. Mitchell ran, tripping alarms. Torres moved with trained speed, but Mitchell's head start and a well-scouted route bought him seconds. "He won't get far," Raymond said. Mara was already moving. "If he hid here all day, he has an egress plan, maintenance tunnels, old Terminal B connects." They plunged into narrow arteries of steel and shadow, pipes sweating, cables like roots. Mara read the trail, disturbed dust, a fresh handprint, the ghost of expensive cologne that didn't belong in utilities. They burst into the shuttered terminal, where Mitchell fought a locked door to the garage. He spun, gun flashing. "Back off," Mitchell barked. "I walk out, and maybe a kid lives." Raymond's tone was glacial. "You don't set terms with me." "You don't grasp the scale," Mitchell spat. "You were collateral. Gregory inherits your routes. Others use them to move things that never clear customs. Do you know how much money breathes there?" "Where's the girl?" Raymond asked. "Safe, for now. If I don't call in 10 minutes, that changes." Mara stepped forward, voice even. "You're lying." Mitchell scowled. "What? You're sweating wrong. That's not control. That's fear. You don't have Emma. Someone else does. You're just the messenger, and they've cut your line too." The barrel wavered. Mara's voice stayed calm. "Gregory's arrested. The plan cratered. Loose ends get tied off. That's you." In the heartbeat of doubt, Torres struck. Gun skittering, Mitchell pinned. "Old Riverside Warehouse, District 7, he gasped. 9 p.m. deadline. If I don't confirm, they—" Raymond was already relaying to the FBI. 20 minutes stretched like wire. Then, the call. Emma recovered at Riverside, scared but unharmed. Back in the hangar, Lily collapsed, relief shaking her bones. Mara sat beside her, shoulder against shoulder. "Thank you," Lily whispered, "for seeing me." "My dad said the workers keep each other alive," Mara murmured. "We look out." The hangar transformed into an investigation hive. Agents moved like chess pieces. Evidence tables multiplied. Mara documented each sabotage with surgical chain of custody, photographs, bagging, labels, signatures. Past midnight, she rebuilt the fuel system with Lily, Tommy Morrison, gray-templed veteran, and Marcus Williams, a newly badged tech with careful hands. "Chain of custody is oxygen," Mara said, setting up a clean flow. Remove, photograph, bag, witness, sign. "We're not just fixing an engine. We're building a case." Raymond hovered close, stepping away only for updates. Pierce surprised everyone by being endlessly useful. Cataloging parts, tracking forms, asking questions that landed square. "Why does the paperwork matter so much?" he asked. "Because truth needs a backbone," Mara said. A video link chimed with results. 3 other Hartwell aircraft showed similar planted faults, staggered to fail over months. "If she hadn't caught this," Raymond breathed, stunned, "they'd have bled me out." "Or killed you," Mara said, matter of fact. Judge Washington shook her head. "This isn't mere corporate dirty play, it's terror." From custody, Mitchell tried bartering. Grants small time. Follow who profits from private routes along the eastern seaboard. Ask what else rides in executive jets. No manifests, no questions. The agent's face hardened. "You're describing trafficking." "Immunity," Mitchell said. "Talk first," the agent replied. Dawn painted the rafters, while Mara finished the last torque, the last clamp, the final verification. Sabotaged components were now evidentiary trophies. Systems, triple-checked and true. Raymond said, "You need rest." "I need it perfect," she answered. Every aircraft buttoned for FAA inspection. No openings for anyone to ground your fleet. Why do you care this much?" he asked. Mara kept working. "My father was made disposable. Laid off 6 months before vesting, knowing he was sick, because a ledger said he cost too much. He died so someone's bonus could live. Whenever power bets against lives, it becomes my fight." Raymond studied her. He'd be proud I'm not doing it alone," Mara said, nodding toward Lily, Tommy, Marcus, even Pierce, eyes gritty but bright. Saboteurs bet on isolation. They didn't plan for a crew. Sunlight climbed the hangar doors. FAA inspectors marched in, unimpressed by money, very impressed by documentation. They were thorough, clinical, and not swayed by Hartwell's name. But they couldn't find fault with the work. 20 years inspecting, the lead said, scanning forms, peering at Torque paint. "This is the most rigorous repair I've ever seen. Who's your chief?" Raymond pointed at Mara. Brows rose. Judge Washington stepped in, iron and warmth. "She's 17 and a prodigy," the judge said. "Also, the reason you're not writing casualty reports." The lead quizzed Mara hard. Systems, tolerances, harmonics, failure modes. And she answered with exactitude, sometimes going deeper than he'd expected. "You belong in a top program," he said. "MIT, Caltech." "First, finish Dad's curriculum," she replied. "First you'll need permits, schooling plans, compliance," the inspector added. Raymond nodded. "By day's end." Papers were drafted on a rolling cart: apprenticeship contract, stipend, health coverage, tutoring hours. Judge Washington countersigned temporary guardianship. Mara's hand shook only when she wrote her name, claiming something larger than survival, a future. Pierce brought coffee and a greasy breakfast burrito that tasted like sunrise. "To first days," he said. Mara smirked. "To first standards." Raymond briefed his board on encrypted calls, internal reviews, supplier audits, regulator cooperation. The case was bigger than burned bearings. It was about an industry's blind corners, and who exploited them. By late morning, FAA tags glinted on every sealed panel. Agents wheeled out evidence tubs, numbered like constellations. Mara traced torque paint with a penlight, satisfied. "We ground ran perfection," she said. "Next is the sky." Captain Sullivan, austere, calm, reviewed her binder. "These notes fly," he said. "Engines and words, both need rhythm." Raymond offered a ride to Judge Washington's house, the garage apartment readied with fresh linens and a desk. Mara hesitated. "I'm still on shift." "Shift includes sleeping," the judge said, not unkind. "Competence loves rest." Mara tucked her father's notebook into a new backpack. "Okay," she said, "but I'm back before dawn." Outside, reporters crowded the chain-link fence. Marcus Torres kept cameras from faces, channeling questions to a prepared statement. Safety first, sabotage contained, cooperation total. Lily slipped out to call Emma's daycare again, just to hear her daughter's giggle. Tommy cleaned tools with reverence. Marcus Williams labeled cases like keepsakes. In the car, streetlights slid by like tired comets. Judge Washington asked, "What scares you most?" "Missing something small," Mara said, staring at her oil-scarred hands. "Small mistakes grow teeth." The judge nodded. "Then we build systems that catch small," she said. "Competence plus care. That's how empires become trustworthy again." Dawn had just begun fingering the horizon when Mara returned. Hoodie up, focus razor sharp. Pre-flight checklists bloomed under her pen. Pierce shadowed, reading gauges while Sienna mirrored procedures. Quiet choreography. "Fuel balanced, hydraulics tight, electrics green," Mara intoned. "Trust but verify," Sienna echoed. "Verify, then trust," Mara corrected gently. Raymond introduced Captain Sullivan to the assembled crew. "He writes his own emergency procedures," Mara whispered to Pierce. "Rare," Pierce said. Sullivan extended a hand. "You're the one who listens to engines," he said. "They sing," Mara answered. "They also warn," he smiled. "Then let's hear their truth at altitude." Taxi clearance granted, the Gulfstream eased forward like a cat flexing. At the monitoring panel, Mara wore aviation-grade headphones, harmonics translating into pictures in her mind. Left engine, clean soprano. Right engine, her rebuild, steady contralto. Temperatures centered, pressures poised. "So far," she murmured, "this is music." Takeoff roll thundered straight through bone. "V1, Sullivan called. "Rotate." The nose lifted, runway shrinking to a ribbon. Cheers trembled in the hangar, but Mara's eyes stayed on numbers, ears on voice. "Climb power set," she said. "Temperatures true, vibrations minimal. Keep the cadence. Don't chase the needles. Let them settle." 15,000 feet brought thinner air and bolder truths. A faint quiver threaded the right engine overtones, barely there. "Reduce engine to 5% for 30 seconds, Mara said. Sullivan complied, trusting the cadence in her voice more than the screen's serenity. The quiver flattened. Another stranger whisper rose behind it. "Bring her home," Mara said. The landing kissed asphalt, ready to forgive. Panels opened, scopes snaked, hands moved. Hidden inside the combustor sat a coin-sized ring dressed as an ordinary washer, alloy designed to crumble under cold stratosphere. "Fourth layer," Mara breathed. "Insurance for evil." They designed failure as inevitability. The FBI bagged the counterfeit part, calls rippled to suppliers and customs. 2 arrests followed before coffee cooled. A parts manager texted a confession, terrified. A machinist named names. Raymond watched the web light up, then unravel. "We don't just fly," he said softly. "We clean the air lanes we depend on." That afternoon, in a conference room smelling like toner and stress, Mara sketched the conspiracy as an exploded diagram. "Input," she said, circling suppliers. "Transfer, drawing maintenance contractors. Control, underlining a name, Cross Aviation Services." "Execution," she wrote beside Gregory and Mitchell. "We're still missing the master clock." A text arrived on Mara's phone. "Stop digging or you'll end like him." The room chilled. Raymond forwarded it to the agents without commentary. Mara's jaw set. "Engines don't bluff," she said, voice steady. "People do. I'm listening to the engines." Judge Washington met her eyes. "And we're standing with you." Under pressure, Mitchell began to barter. "Cross isn't a name. It's a network," he said. "Alexander Cross coordinates maintenance slots with shipments." Warrants flew, hangars opened, false panels were discovered like smuggled secrets. By sunset, Alexander Cross was in cuffs, denying everything, buying the best trouble money could still afford. The next days roared, press briefings, evidence chains, midnight audits. Mara slept in 4-hour patches, woke in torque patterns. In the quiet, she wrote, "Harmonics map to intent. Intent leaves residue. Engines confess. People conceal. Build procedures that reward confession. Punish concealment." She underlined it twice, thinking of her father. A week later, under vaulted ceilings and restless cameras, Mara faced senators who preferred speeches to questions. "The system failed," she said, voice cool. "Credentials outranked competence. Relationships outranked integrity. Profit outranked safety. My father died inside that math." Silence held. Someone coughed. A pen stopped tapping. "You want a fix?" she continued. "Adopt dual verification protocols, hands and instruments. Protect whistleblowers with real teeth. Audit suppliers by destructive testing, not paperwork. And make leadership certify personal criminal liability for falsified maintenance." The room recalibrated. The Johnson Protocol was born before anyone named it. Back home, the hangar felt different. Less hush, more conversation. Workers compared notes across shifts. Text threads became early warning nets. Lily set up a safety board with anonymous drop slots. Tommy taught torque by touch. Marcus Williams ran surprise audits with donuts and respect. Pierce volunteered for the graveyard shift without being asked. Raymond changed too. Meetings shorter, walkarounds longer. "Talk to me like I'm new," he told line crews, and listened like he meant it. Vanessa's absence was a quiet ache Pierce didn't discuss. He carried toolboxes anyway, learning weight first, then numbers. He and Sienna argued seals and safety wire like siblings who trust correction. The apprenticeship contract arrived, embossed and real. Mara read every clause, pen hovering until Judge Washington nodded. She signed with the careful pressure of someone who understood permanence. Benefits meant doctors, wage meant groceries, tuition line items meant a door she would walk through when it was time, not sooner, not later. Raymond unveiled a pilot of something bigger. "If you permit," he said, "a training pipeline for underrepresented youth into aviation maintenance, scholarships, tool grants, paid apprenticeships, tutoring." Mara vetoed glossy posters. "No savior photos," she said. "Show hands, not halos." The website launched with a torque wrench and a notebook. First cohort applications doubled forecasts in a day. 3 girls from Mara's old shelter arrived in hand-me-down jackets, faces guarded and luminous. "Is it true?" the oldest asked. "That engines don't care who you are?" "Engines don't," Mara said. "Systems do. We're rewriting a system." She handed them ear protection like crowns. The test flight officially documented, the Gulfstream earned a new call sign among crews, the Phoenix. Sullivan invited Pierce into the cockpit jump seat for a short hop. "Eyes out, eyes in, ears on," he said. Pierce watched instruments agree with air, felt trust begin in bones. Later, he logged ground school without a nudge. More dominoes fell. A senator's chief of staff resigned, then cooperated. A shipment route cracked open, revealing names that had once felt armored. Raymond testified with restrained fury. "Profit can't outrank people," he said. "Not here, not ever again." Investors didn't flee. Some leaned closer, sensing that safety and the truth compound too. Night shifts became teaching labs. Sienna coached students through safety wiring until their hands remembered. Tommy blindfolded Mara's cohort for a torque game. Listen, don't look. Lily posted childcare sign-ups for mechanics with kids. When Emma visited in tiny coveralls, someone started crying. No one admitted who. Data charts sprouted beside Polaroids. Sleep came when it could. Learning didn't wait. Mara started formal coursework in the evenings. Materials science, airflow, failure analysis. The dean from a certain institute toured the hangar, asked pointed questions, left impressed. "We'll have a seat for you," he said. "Hold it," Mara answered. "I'm not done teaching or learning here." In spare minutes, she wrote in her father's notebook, speaking to him like he'd stepped out for parts. Fixed, shaft harmonics, exposed, supply chain rot, built, crew that refuses silence. Promise, when school fits into the mission, I'll go, and I'll bring more with me. She drew a small bird in the margin, rising. 6 weeks in, the boardroom shifted venues, to the hangar floor. Executives in polished shoes stood beside stained anti-fatigue mats. "Smell that?" Tommy asked. "Integrity," Sienna said, grinning. Raymond announced raises and a whistleblower fund. Applause sounded like wrenches clicking. Pierce filmed, then put his phone away and grabbed a broom. Instructors from other airports visited, taking notes they didn't expect to need. Mara taught a module called Hands and Ears, comparing sensor outputs to tactile signatures. "Machines talk before they fail," she said. "Your job is to listen before they scream." She let silence sit until someone asked the right question, then answered fully. The trial calendar filled. Gregory pled and named partners. Cross fought and lost. Suppliers confessed. A judge quoted Mara's Senate line in a decision footnote. Headlines used the word reform without sarcasm. Someone mailed the hangar a cake that read, "Thank you for not letting us die." It tasted like store frosting and sincerity. Months grew legs. The first training cohort learned safety first, procedures second, swagger never. Mara caught a student bluffing torque. She didn't shout. "Try again, with your eyes closed," she said. He did, sweating, then smiled when the wrench clicked true. "There," she said. "Trust that click. That's competence, not luck." Pierce earned his private pilot certificate after grinding through hold entries and crosswind landings. He flew Ray to a regional meeting, then taxied home without fanfare, logging lessons faster than bragging. Back in the hangar, he debriefed with Mara over greasy noodles. "Flare too early," he admitted. "Corrected," she said. "Next time, later." The If You Permit initiative found donors who wanted outcomes, not plaques. Scholarships multiplied. Toolkits arrived with names etched not in brass, but in permanent marker, the way crews mark belonging. Emma drew engines with smiling faces on the break room whiteboard. Lily taped one above the safety checklist. Rituals matter as much as rules. A year circled back. The Phoenix gleamed, not because of polish, but because it worked. 50 students finished Phase 1. Apprenticeships waited like runways. At graduation, Pierce spoke plain. "A year ago, I learned the difference between reputation and character," he said. "Character is what you do when no one's filming." Mara stepped to the mic last. She didn't speak long. "Engines are honest," she said. "Be like engines." She didn't cry until later, hand on the nacelle that had once mirrored a girl who needed shelter. Now it reflected an instructor, a builder of systems, a keeper of standards she refused to lower. After the ceremony, Judge Washington pressed an envelope into Mara's palm, an acceptance letter on heavy paper. "Full ride, start when you choose," the judge said. "Take a victory lap first," Raymond added. Mara exhaled. "One more cohort," she said. "Then I'll go, and I'll bring back what I learn, properly torqued." The FBI called about a new industry, ports, not planes, seeking her ear. "After classes," she said. "Education first, consulting second." They laughed, then agreed. Boundaries like torque specs protect threads. Back at the bench, she corrected a student's grip. "Don't muscle it," she said. "Feel the metal say enough. It always does." On the anniversary night, the hangar lights glowed warm. Raymond stood beside Pierce, who traced a map of routes, untouched by smuggling for 12 clean months. "We built this," Pierce said. "You did," Raymond answered. I finally remembered how to help. They didn't hug. They shared a nod that held future. Later, alone, Mara wrote the last letter in her father's notebook. Dad, I finished your lesson plan. Fix what's broken, then fix why it breaks. Your voice lives in procedures now, in ears that listen before metal screams. Tomorrow I'll teach the third compressor stage to sing. Love, your persistent apprentice. Before locking up, she spotted a new student, Jazz, palming a training engine like prayer. What's it saying? Mara asked. Third stage imbalance, maybe 0.5 millimeter, Jazz said. Diagnostics agreed. How'd you hear that? My mom fixed cars, said machines are more honest than people. Mara smiled. Welcome home, she said. Let's learn. Outside, a jet climbed into evening, engines in tune with sky. Thunder grumbled far off, promising weather and reminding them the air keeps its own counsel. This time, Mara didn't flinch. The storm could come. The hangar had a culture now, a spine. Kids like her had keys and purpose and names stitched proudly. Reporters kept asking for heroes. The crew kept pointing at procedures. We didn't save lives, Tommy said on camera. Standards did. We just listened. The clip went modestly viral. Applicants tripled again. Someone graffitied the fence with a neat hand. If you permit, we fly. Security left it up. It told the truth. When Mara finally set foot on campus, brick, ivy, labs humming, she didn't feel out of place. She felt on assignment. She carried torque theory into materials lectures. She carried failure analysis back to night calls with Sienna. You're still here, she'd say. Always, Sienna answered. Send notes. Sending torque curves, Mara laughed. Midterms overlapped with an industry recall. Mara wrote an op-ed between labs. Stop outsourcing conscience to checklists. It ran in a trade journal, clipped to breakroom corkboards nationwide. Pierce texted a photo of it above the coffee machine. Raymond replied with a thumbs up and a calendar reminder, sleep 8 hours for once. Holidays arrived with pie in the hangar and a possibly illegal spruce on the mezzanine. Emma hung a cardboard jet on it. Lily pretended not to know who strung lights across the lift. Mara graded practice quizzes on harmonics, while Tommy told war stories about torque in monsoon heat. Everyone laughed softer afterward. Spring brought new noise, hopeful, hungry, unafraid. The second cohort arrived on day 1 with calluses and questions. Mara opened with listening drills. Close your eyes, she said. Put your palm here. The machine is telling you a book. Learn the alphabet. When someone rolled their eyes, she handed them a blindfold and patience. Pierce logged instrument hours in Hood and Turbulence, learning to trust dials when the world lied. Back on the ground, he cleaned drains because Sienna said drains are honesty tests. Raymond chaired a safety council that didn't adjourn early. Culture had shifted from speeches to checklists to habits, the only change that sticks. Mara visited her father's resting place with Judge Washington. She set the notebook down, edges frayed, mission complete. Kept my promise, she whispered. Extended it. Wind riffled pages like applause. The judge squeezed her shoulder. He knew, she said. He always knew you'd hear what mattered. They went for greasy pancakes. On a humid afternoon, a mechanic from a distant field called, panicked about a vibration no sensor flagged. Mara listened over speaker to a recording, eyes closed. Check the mid-span damper on stage 4, she said. Silence, then laughter through tears. Found it. Knowledge traveled faster than flights that day. The Phoenix eventually retired to training hops and goodwill tours. The name stuck to the program more than the medal. When donors asked what they were buying, Raymond pointed to a line of students labeling wrenches. You're buying ears, he said, hands that won't lie, futures that refuse to. One evening, the crew watched an old home video of James Jamison teaching little Mara to listen. The audio was tinny, but his joy cut through. Feel the song? He asked child Mara. Yeah, she said. Grown Mara wiped her eyes. I still do. No one pretended not to notice. Some truths deserve witness. A regulator tried to scale back parts of the Johnson Protocol to reduce burden. The hangar sent letters, concise, unsentimental, devastating. Lily testified. Pierce wrote data visualizations. Sienna brought torque graphs. The rollback died in committee. Later, they didn't high-five. They logged lessons learned and added the fight to the curriculum. Graduation for Cohort 2 felt less like ceremony, more like launch. Apprenticeships spread across airports that had once looked away. A student sent a photo from a desert field, palm on nacelle, caption, "Heard it in time." Mara pinned it beside a map, the board filled with tiny victories, each a life unlost. That night, the hangar went quiet early. Mara walked the floor alone, touching tools like rosary beads. She paused by the Phoenix, palm flat. "We did good," she told the machine. It said nothing, which was its way of agreeing. Outside, a breeze lifted, smelling like rain and runway and beginnings. In an empty classroom, she found Jazz teaching a younger kid how to hear imbalance. "Half a millimeter," he said. The kid shrugged, then smiled when the click arrived. "There," Jazz grinned. "You'll save someone with that." Mara backed away, letting inheritance happen without her shadow. That's how legacy remains light. The next morning, Pierce landed from a solo cross-country, hair wined wild, logbook inked. He didn't brag. He grabbed a torque wrench to help with an intake inspection. "Congrats," Sienna said. "Thanks," he said. Their quiet competence was a new language, proof that privilege can learn humility when given the right dictionary. At last, Mara's own departure loomed. Courses calling, labs waiting. She packed the notebook in tissue and left it in a glass case by the classroom door, not like a relic, but like a relay baton. Beside it, a sign, "Listen first, fix true, then fight what breaks on purpose. Final walk-around, drains clear, carts charged, mats clean." She found Raymond in the mezzanine, hands on railing, watching the crew like a gardener watches growth. "You gave us a spine," he said. "You gave yourself a soul," she replied. They didn't do speeches. They did one nod, long enough to count. At the door, Judge Washington waited with a packed lunch and a look that said, "Call me. Don't make me hunt you." "Don't forget you're a student," she said. "Don't forget I'm an apprentice," Mara answered. "Some apprentices teach," the judge said. "Best ones always do." They shared a laugh that felt like home. Engines spooled somewhere outside. Departures, arrivals, continuations. Mara turned once more. The hangar wasn't steel and slabs anymore. It was a verb. Listen, teach, protect, repair. "Back soon," she murmured, "with more pages." She stepped into the sun, not blinking. The future wasn't a runway, it was the sky itself. Honest, earned. Months later, during finals, her phone buzzed. A distant field heard a faint harmonic. She texted Steps. They found a cracked clamp. "Nice catch," she wrote. "Nice teacher," came back. She smiled, turned to her exam, answered a question about creep like she was tuning a piano string until it sang. On break, she returned for a surprise audit day. No fanfare, just clipboards and hands. She caught a misrouted safety wire, a sloppy label, a near miss caught by Lily before it mattered. "Write it up," Mara said. "Celebrate the catch, not the flaw." They did, eating pie under a sign. Failure avoided, not shamed. Pierce taxied the Phoenix for a charity ride, kids pressing faces to windows. "You saved this?" one asked Mara. "We saved each other," she said. "This medal taught me courage. We taught it honesty. Deal?" The kid nodded solemnly, as if binding a treaty between sky and ground that might actually hold. In a quiet office, Raymond framed the first If You Permit diploma beside a photo of James Jamison. "Foundations matter," he told Pierce. "Not marble. Decisions." Pierce traced the edges. "We keep making them," he said. "Daily," Raymond replied. They went downstairs to sweep a spill, because leaders who sweep are remembered better. On the program's second anniversary, alumni returned in coveralls bright with other companies' logos. They swapped stories like trading cards, catches, saves, near misses turned into never misses. Jazz taught a breakout on acoustic signatures. Sienna hosted a panel on saying no without fear. Mara watched like a conductor, letting the orchestra play. Some nights, she still woke to engines in her head, warning, humming, forgiving. She kept a small torquey wrench on her desk like a worry stone. When campus parties got loud, she went to the lab and listened to a test rig sing. It wasn't loneliness, it was fluency in another language. A reporter finally wrote the piece right. Not about a homeless girl rescued by a benevolent billionaire, but about a system corrected by people who refused to look away. The final line quoted Mara. "Machines don't lie. If we build systems that listen, leaders won't get the chance to." She taped it up. On a rainy afternoon, Mara guest lectured in a leadership class. "What's the first rule?" a student asked. "Don't delegate listening," she said. "Second, don't punish truth. Third, don't celebrate luck." They wrote it down like formulas. She handed out earplugs with the program's logo. "You'll need these, metaphorically and literally." When she finally walked a graduation stage herself, cords bright, boots scuffed, the hangar crew whooped through a live stream. Back home, the Torque wall sprouted a plaque. J. Jamison Curriculum. Listen, fix, prevent. Emma drew a cap on the safety poster. Lily declared the day a holiday, served pie, amended the checklist accordingly. Offers arrived with salaries that glittered. She chose a path that kept one foot in teaching. "I'll consult," she told Raymond, "and I'll build labs." "We have a bay with your name half painted," he said. "Finish it yourself. Standards." She laughed. Standards had become the family religion, her father's gospel in Torque. A final letter came from a small airport. "We used your protocol, pulled a false panel, found a compartment." The attached photo showed duct tape where greed had tried to hide. Lives saved, maybe. Hard to count. Mara counted anyway. 1. Then she added zeros, not as exaggeration, but as a promise. The Phoenix made one more ceremonial loop, low and slow, over the city that had once spit rain into Mara's bones. She stood on the tarmac, with Pierce and Sienna and Lily and Tommy and Marcus and dozens of students, ears tilted up. The engines sang. They always had. Now, everyone listened. After, in the hush that follows good noise, Mara asked the question she always returned to. Who else are we overlooking? Applications stacked on her desk like runway lights. She sharpened pencils, cleared schedules, made room. "If you permit" wasn't a slogan. It was an open door, hinges oiled, welcome honest. Sometimes she still visited the space where she'd first hidden from the rain. Behind a tool chest, heartsick and cold. She stood there a minute, then turned, facing the wide, humming room. "We changed the weather," she said softly. "Inside, at least." Tommy, passing, heard and nodded. "Forecast, clear," he said. The hangar's corkboard filled with postcards, dusty fields, coastal strips, mountain passes. Each pinned note read some version of the same sentence. Heard it, fixed it, taught someone. The chorus got louder, proof that melody becomes movement, movement becomes culture, and culture, once honest, refuses to be quieted or sold off. One evening, Jazz brought a teenager who flinched at loud sounds but relaxed under engines. "He hears better than anyone," Jazz said. Mara handed him ear defenders and patience. He traced the nacelle with a fingertip, then pointed exactly where a bearing would eventually whisper. They hired him on the spot. A regulator toured again, this time asking how to scale. "Stop scaling speeches," Mara said. "Scale apprenticeships, scale protections, scale respect." She wrote loophole-proof clauses with lawyers who listened for a living. Pierce drew diagrams. Sienna baked the meeting cookies because policy lands better when the room smells like cinnamon. As shadows lengthened, Mara closed up, hands on the light switches like benedictions. Engines slept. Tools waited. The air itself felt cleaner, the way rooms do when truth has circulated for so long it refuses to go stale again. She locked the door, feeling not like a guard, but a gardener. Outside, a jet angled toward the last light. Thunder mumbled far off, performing, not threatening. Mara lifted her chin and answered the auditorium question without microphones or applause. Dormant talent hides everywhere. Convenience refuses to look. Miracles require permission plus practice. She had both now, and a ledger of lives balanced toward safe. Tomorrow would bring new checklists and fresh mistakes to catch before they mattered. It would bring kids with questions, and managers with budgets, and a sky that does not negotiate. She looked at her crew, at their stubborn, glittering competence, and felt a kind of wealth that bankers can't underwrite. The hangar lights hummed back on with dusk, ready for the next lesson, the next fix, the next refusal to accept almost. Engines waited, honest as ever. Hands waited, steadier than yesterday. Ears waited, tuned. "Listen," Mara said to no one and everyone. Then do the right thing. Again, ow. She touched the phoenix one last time that night. Metal cool, promise warm. Thank you, she whispered. To the machine, to the man who'd hired her, to the judge who'd signed papers, to the father who'd taught her engines never lie. She turned toward the door. Work remained. Hope did too. And at the center of it all stood Mara Jamison, no longer invisible, never ornamental, home in a hangar that listened back, a place where broken became whole because people had decided to hear the early warnings and answer with skill. If you permit, we fly. If you listen, we live. Lesson: listen for the honest signal. At our age, we know truth hums like a tuned turbine. Steady, not loud. Mara felt a 2-millimeter lie, saved miles of sky and a life. Tools measure, hands confirm. Courage is torque. Tighten crosswise, gently, until the click says enough. Then rest, fly honest. If this lesson about listening before tightening rings true, what moment in your life taught you the quiet click? That point where enough is enough. Share a memory, a repair, or a hard-earned boundary in the comments. If the story helped, please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. More practical wisdom, more courage, and more honest machines.